So today we're going to talk a little bit about planning for freshmen who are in high school. My name is Ed Sanderson. I'm the CEO of Ducerus, your total college solution. We're going to talk a little bit about career planning. We're going to talk about setting goals when it comes to academic planning. We're going to talk about positioning a student, and we're going to talk about how to implement a strategy when it comes to positioning and planning. And we're going to talk about self-promotion. When we talk about college, we start with career planning. The conversation about career planning gets started as soon as humanly possible, particularly for 8th graders and 9th graders, because we want them to start thinking about what their future looks like. And for us, a college education, and for that matter, a high school education, is really the preparation to get them ready to get launched in a career path. I've had many parents tell me, what do I have to do to get my kid to not come home from college, hang out on my couch, watch ESPN, and eat Cheetos? No, they don't say that. But what they really do want is they want to have a plan for their student to get a fulfilling career started. Well, if that is what you want, that has to start early in the process. The first thing we do with a student is we do two things, actually. We do a personality test and we do a career assessment. What are their interests? What are their abilities? How do those things fit into what their personality? So when we're talking about personality assessment, what we're basically trying to figure out is who they are inside, what drives them, what kind of traits do they have that make it possible to do a potential career. And then we want to know if they have the interests, the abilities, and the values associated with that. Now listen, there's probably no way that we're going to determine distinctly what a young person's going to do at 14 or 15 years old. But what we can do is get them moving in the right direction. So first things first, career planning. And I would say freshman year in high school, sophomore year in high school, junior year in high school, senior year in high school, and all the way through college is something that this continues to be developed, so that when a student goes and they start to plan their high school career, it's with a purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Career planning starts with goals and academic planning at the high school level. Well, what do you mean by that? Having a roadmap or a stop at every single step of the way through their high school career is important. So when we start to look at what courses should you be taking, what extracurricular activities you should be doing, what community service activities, and how all of those pieces fit together to come up with an academic plan is extraordinarily important. And yes, your guidance counselor is there to assist you with that. But this is something that you need to work on a regular basis. So we're talking about this. This is kind of thing you put into place like October, I would say as early as August, before you really even start. But from August to October, the idea is to kind of lay out a plan. And by the way, I love this phrase, plans are subject to change without notice. My wife doesn't like that phrase, but I like that phrase. And it does change, particularly for a young person. But if you can start to get your arms wrapped around what you can do to start planning academically, socially, and from a leadership perspective, that will pay off dividends, not only through the high school process, but particularly when you start looking and applying to colleges, which means the positioning needs to start right away. And what that basically means is that in order for a student to be seriously considered at a really great college or university, and we'll spend time on what that means later, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's the best academic and social fit for a student, it means that they're working hard to put a plan together so that the pieces fit together. So let me give you an example. I have a young lady that I'm working with that she wants to be a doctor. Well, that process started much earlier than her junior year in high school. Let me kind of elaborate on that. The courses that she's taken or taking are all in the math and sciences arena. Anything that she's doing in terms of community service is associated with raising money for Leukemia Foundation, getting involved with organizations that are trying to produce solutions for health-associated challenges. Additionally, spending some time talking to, interviewing, discussing her goals and aspirations with doctors or family and friend associates that are in the medical industry starts to cement this path that she's on. Extraordinarily important to begin positioning yourself to take advantage of the interests and career path that you're thinking about going on. Now, let's talk a little bit about execution. How do you put these things in place? Well, again, it really comes down to communication, being able to start having dialogue with individuals who share common goals that you have. So in this situation I was talking about with this young lady who wanted to be a doctor, she has her own physician, somebody that has taken care of her since she was a young child, has a relationship with that individual, was able to sit down, talk about her goals, her career plan, and start to get input from other people who have traveled the road she wants to travel and giving her insight on what she can do now, a plan of attack that gets her prepared for that career. And I would also say, also opens up an opportunity for her to spend time in that office so she can see what happens day in and day out in a medical environment. Well, the last thing we want to talk about is self-promotion, and I just alluded to that a little bit. The student's responsibility is to go out and take charge of their future, which basically means they should be looking to establish relationships with people who have traveled on the road that they're considering going on. This is extraordinarily important. And I would also say, for that matter, that if a parent is comfortable with their young person, their young daughter, your son, to be on social media, that's an opportunity to really investigate some career individuals who've done astounding and impressive things, for example, in the medical industry, and reach out to them and see if you could have a conversation with them, possibly even an interview to talk to them about what they were able to accomplish and how they got there. Since we're on the subject of social media, I will leave you with this one thought. You have to be careful about what you do. When we talk about planning, how you position yourself in social media, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or any of these places, and if, let's face it, if you put something on there that's inappropriate, that can have a profound impact in a negative way about what you're trying to accomplish, not now in high school, maybe in college, but definitely on your career path. So listen, there's a lot of different things that you need to consider, and we're just talking about doing those in your freshman year. We're going to talk more about sophomore, junior, senior, and even activities if you're already in college. But let's recap. If you're a freshman in high school, here's what you should be thinking about. Your academic planning, that's August through October. And if you are following a little bit behind on that, what a perfect opportunity to get caught up. How about positioning? Student positioning is the strategies a student must use to put them in place for colleges to extend an invitation for them to attend. That's probably something you need to start thinking about between November and January. And then the execution of that plan, positioning, planning, implementing strategies that make appropriate course selections, creating a summer plan, and finding future leadership opportunities can make students more competitive. Start laying out that strategy somewhere between February and April. And then finally, you got to be careful about what you do on social media. Self-promotion is important, but it's also dangerous if you do things that might come back to haunt you. So learn how to use the internet and social media, which can be your friend or your foe, but use that time wisely, not only to express yourself, learn more about people that are in the industry that you're considering, but also to do some college research and admissions investigation. What schools are you looking at and what do they expect from you academically? Well, that's a good time to do that, May through July. So you've got a lot of stuff that you can be doing. If you're a little bit behind, no problem. Take this opportunity to get caught up. And you know what? You'll be on your way for having not only a fulfilling career, but a successful high school and college education.